Hi, Bluebirds.
Our names are Lauren Thomas,
And Chloe Vittel.
and we are the hosts of What's Going On around HMS.
Today, we are going to be focusing on all Team 2s.
Let's start with Team 8-2. Their teachers are Mr. Lipscomb, Mr. Augustine, Miss Fry, and Miss Klein.
Let's see what they are doing in class right now.
Right now, Mr. Lipscomb's geometry class is working on proving that triangles are congruent, while his Algebra A class is working on finding equations of proportional and non-proportional relationships. Mr. Augustine's class is looking at the Constitutional Convention. In Miss Fry's class, they are looking at students finding their own definition of a hero using a hero strategy. In Miss Klein's class, they just finished their atomic timeline and are now working on phase changes.
I don't know about you, but I think all of that sounds very interesting. But now, let's move on to Team 7-2.
The teachers for Team 7-2 are Mr. Alessandro, Mrs. Workman, Mrs. Donnelly, and Mrs. Houston. In Mr. Alessandro's class, they just finished their mythology unit where they wrote their own myth, and now they are studying their advertising unit. They also do no red ink and zinc assignments weekly. Mrs. Workman's class is working on cell theory, and Mrs. Donlan's pre-algebra class, they are working on percent of increase and decrease. In her Algebra A class, they are working on notations, such as translations, reflections, and rotations. In Mrs. Houston's class, they are learning about ancient China.
Doesn't that sound like fun? Now let's move on to Team 6-2. Their teachers are Mr. Rafferty, Mrs. Reckers, Mrs. Brewers, and Miss Hinkle. In Mr. Rafferty's class, they just finished the Day of the Dead and are now working on writing pieces about the Ed Klein Foundation. Mrs. Reckers' class is working on rates and equivalent ratios. Mrs. Brewers' class is working on, believe it or not, arguments. They are working on their tone and being formal. They need to learn how to write a claim with reasons. In Miss Hinkle's class, they are working on Newton's Law of Motion.
Sounds like Highlands is full of fun currently. I can't wait to see what is coming next. Make sure that you thank your teachers for the effort they put into your everyday activities. Peace out, Bluebirds.